Hey everyone, this is Jeff. Welcome back to Planet Zoo with Empirical Sahara. Our Sahara Desert, African arid areas themed desert that we started working on last time. This is January of year 2, and our goal is going to be to rework one of these habitats. Let's just claim a little bit of extra money because we're gonna need it. We are up to $2,600 and we should be able to improve that a bit over the course of this day. But we also have 2 extra animals we want to get added in here as well. So let's start by thinking about how we want this Addax exhibit to work. We initially gave them a little bit of a shelter here just to give them a bit of privacy and screening away from the prying eyes of our guests. But we've got this back area to work with a little bit more, and obviously there's a lot in this habitat that needs to get changed in general. So let's get started on that. With $2,600, I think we have enough to do a little bit of work on the way that we'd like to change things here in the future. Let's run through time a little bit just so we can get ourselves into sunlight here, so it's easier to see what's actually going on. We'll let this day start a bit. We'll also use the opportunity to make a bit of extra money, and there we go. So I think what I would like to do for this exhibit, I don't really see anywhere where I think I need a guest like viewing platform or anything like that. I think this is a really nice little, sweeping area. But what I do want to do in this habitat is I want to slope the front of it down so that animals can get closer to the guests without actually being able to reach them. Height requirements for the Addax, just to make sure that they can't jump that high. Grade 2 over 4 feet. That should not be a problem at all. 4 feet to meters is 1.2. So we're going to take a 2-meter piece of basically anything. Like here, Planet Zoo brace, 2 meter. We're going to sink this into the ground until it's just barely poking up. Then we are going to grab our terrain stamp tool. We are going to stamp a ramp. And we are going to stamp this ramp so that it just barely exposes the top of this stick. It looks like we're going to need to go a little further down than that. Let's go... No, that's not the one we want. We don't want angle stamp. We want, like, width? No, we want height. There we go. That's what we want. Let's go to 5 meters. Right about here. And let's not angle stamp this. And then stamp. So if we pull this stick out, it looks pretty close. It's probably good enough, but just in case it's not, let's go a little bit deeper. No, not you. The terrain stamp, please. Excuse me. How are you getting confused by this exactly? You worked so well last time. Huh. Maybe if we hit escape every time? There we go. All right, hitting escape every single time fixed it. So I want you... I don't want you to slope that deep. I want you to slope it maybe like 14%. Sure. And then we'll make you just a little longer. And what that should do is get us down to the depth we need. We'll go 7 meters. So line this up. Stamp. Check your stick. Stick is looking much better now. Don't need the stick anymore. So now we can take this thing We can rotate it all the way around the outside of this exhibit. So here, here, we'll keep it nice and flush with the path. Pulling it all the way along the side. Maybe out a little bit from there. All the way down here to the end. And then we'll do the same thing over here, down the other side. Out to about here. And from here on, we're going to have some rock work instead that takes care of the end of that habitat. So, with that out of the way, let's smooth this out a bit. We don't want to smooth it too much, but we do want to take some of those rough edges off, those jagged corners. And then can I see your traversability, please? I can get a little close here. And in fact, give me a small flattened foundation that's very powerful. I'm actually going to pull this back a ways. In retrospect, probably didn't need the wedge tool. I think this will do us just fine instead. And then we can much more easily check height by going like this. Do not align to surface, please. Yeah, we need to go a little deeper still. Maybe something like this. Let's dig out a nice little bit of trench. Okay. Then we can smooth this off. Unfortunately, terrain work in Planet Zoo is relatively cheap. That is more than enough. Move these out of the way. And now we can come in here, make your smoother a little bigger, and we can smooth this down so it's a gradual slope leading down towards the guest viewing area. And then also, just so that the habitat is a little more interesting, because looking at a purely flat habitat, it's not the most visually interesting thing. Let's lift a couple places up. Not much, but just enough to unsettle the terrain a bit and make things look kind of interesting. Still don't like how jagged these are. Let's address that a little bit. A lot of this we're just going to cover up with scenery, so it's not a huge deal. But we'll just smooth some of this off. And so now we can think about a fence. We don't actually need something that is Addax proof here. Instead, we're looking for something that looks nice. So let's start by moving all of these out of the way. Then I don't have to deal with them while we're trying to build a fence. And we are limited to base game props only here because I don't think any of our research is finished. So what I would like is I'd like a really simple like wood post design with maybe some rope in between it. These round braces are paintable, and so I think that gives us a pretty good place to start. So let's see if we can make an interesting fence piece off somewhere. Grab one of these, and then we'll grab a little bit of rope curved. We'll have that hang off of the top. A little under the top, maybe. Something like that. This whole fence looks a little too tall, though. So I'll probably bring it down to, like, here. We'd have a 4-meter rope. I do have a 4-meter rope. I think I'd rather have the 4-meter rope. Why don't you give me a position snap here? No. Why don't you give me an aligned? No. There we go. No, that's not it at all. Alright, you're gonna have to rotate it a little bit then. Oh, wait, there you go. You got it. You come in here. Yeah, I like that. And then you will come over here. Right about there or so. Looks pretty good. And then I also want just a little bit of plaster at the bottom. There's like a little bit of fence down here at the bottom. Just to add a little bit of dimension to this fence. And it's not going to be much. It's just going to be a little something like this. And then we'll rotate you around a bit so we can get you to fit in here nicely. And I think that's how our fence is going to look. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We'll fiddle with the colors a bit. Actually kind of like that. Looks a little sandstone-ish. And then these, I think I would also like to be a bit of a lighter wood. Maybe like yeah, a little bit of like that or something. We'll add all this to a group. And then we'll go and get it positioned over here by our Addax. So we'll have it start right about here. And then we can go ahead and duplicate. Get rid of this first, actually. Then duplicate. Because we're going to be rotating this around a little bit. So we're just going to come around and line these up like this. Slide one over, give it a little spin. Slide one over, give it a little spin. Each of these only costs about $30, so it should not break the bank to add a little bit of custom fencing to this Addax habitat. Pull you around like this. That one's a little wide. There you go. Okay, coming along. We're approaching the shadow zone, which means that we should be just about to the end. I'll get it a little closer to the path here. We'll start hugging the path again at this point, because this isn't really intended to be a viewing gallery for them. This is the part where guests should probably be moseying on to the next part of the park. And then we'll go ahead and we'll end it right here. So we'll grab this extra piece of wood, duplicate it down, slide it into place, and that's going to be the end of the barrier. So I think that looks not half bad. It's very simple, but that's fine. We're in the desert. Things aren't going to always be super complicated. And then at this endpoint, we're going to have a bunch of rock work. So biome, desert, continent, Africa. Sort me by price descending because I want the big rocks first, and I want this exact one with the nice flat. So here at the back, we're going to have a bunch of rocks as the marker for the end of this habitat. There's going to be a little like rock cliff wall back here. And that is both going to serve to be our null barrier for the end of the exhibit, as well as a little bit of interesting scenery in the back for viewers to look at. We can also just random rotate this thing. Slide you over like this, maybe. And then we're just going to vary the height a little bit on these as we go up. We're going to use the first three to lay a bit of a foundation that we can build off of. Maybe one more as well. And then from there, we'll transition into using smaller rocks. So that's going to be the main rock formation. Oh, let's go ahead and okay, well, I guess we won't go ahead and redo that. That's going to be the main rock formation. And then inside of this rock formation, we are going to have actual barrier. You can come around like this then. And we want to vary your height a little bit. That is high enough to block the view of just about everything. And then further down here, we'll bring you. And we'll raise you up. Yeah, lovely. Really like how that's looking. Duplicate these, put in one more. Pull it back. Boom. Then, let's go ahead and grab some smaller rocks in here. These we're just going to want to use to fill this area out. Are you tilted? Yeah, I don't want you to align the surface. There we go. I do think I need to make sure that these aren't too tall in case the Addax try to climb them. But we can check habitat navigability after this. For now, I'm just going to try to make sure they don't get too close to the ground, and then I want to add in a bit of color as well. So it doesn't just look like it's all one giant boulder. It looks more like a jumble of rocks. Maybe like some sandstone or some other kind of rock mixed in there at the same time. This is also, if and when we ever get around to doing like a polar zoo, a really cool way to make rocks look like they are snow covered. Is to take some of the polar rocks and slide them in like that. We'll put some desert rocks down here. Just to cover the fact that that's just kind of an ugly boundary to where the terrain is. And then we'll also fill in a few more back here. And this is just to cover off some of the rough edges on the back of the stone assembly. And these can be quite low to the ground because the Addax will be trying to climb them back here. So that is going to be one of our boundaries for this side of the Addax habitat. We'll put a few more in here just to roughen up some of these edges. I mean, I got a really small one there. Yeah, you'll do. Love that. Think that looks great. And then over on this side, I want to try and do a brick wall, which is going to be a challenge because I don't have any of the good brick pieces unlocked. I don't have the aquatic faux rock. I don't have the Indonesian tile. I don't have anything. So I need to figure out how I can get something that looks fairly brick-like that is not going to be a fortune to put down. And also, ideally, is something that's paintable. Like, Breeze Block doesn't make a horrible brick wall if you just take one of these things, but it's too regular. I want it to look a little smashed up and ruined. And also, I would like to be able to paint it so that I can get them a couple different shades of color. Gray space is going to be way too regular. I don't actually think I'm going to have access to anything currently. Maybe in props. Definitely not a wood wall. That's all going to be souvenir stuff. Yeah, so if we have anything, it's going to have to be a rock. You are way too big. I don't think cladding is going to work. And the rest of these are all just kind of irregular shapes. I think maybe there's some stuff that we can work with in here, though. Like, what if we set a really low boundary for this rock? You do not need to random rotate anymore. And then we also grabbed out of this cladding. Can I get thick cladding? Yeah, that'll do. We had something like that. Say, you know, we rotated this thing a little bit just so it looks a little different. And then maybe we spin it around 180 degrees. Or something. There we go. So we can do something like that, and it kind of looks like it's a bit of old crumbling wall. Especially if we raise it up a little bit. And then, can I have masonry poking out of the top of it? So now, if I go get, like, my breeze block, and I'd like to use a non-grid breeze block here, probably. I think I can do something like this. And then if I make these somewhat irregular, I can sort of get something out of that. The color doesn't exactly match, but that's kind of something. It's not going to be nearly tall enough to keep the Addaxes out, though, which is the problem. Which means I'm going to have to build a fence on top of it anyway. But I think I like that enough to start with. So if we copy this thing over a few times, and we rotate it a bit, that should keep up the irregularity. Especially if we spin it all the way around a few times. And then you come all the way down to like here. You've got that. You can have some of these go a little bit taller. And then for these gaps in the middle, you can have a single breeze block. And especially if you kind of put it off center, like this, I'm fine with random rotation for. But if you keep them a little off centered, it might help contribute to this wall looking a little rude. We'll see what we think. You know, I think it's kind of working for me. It's not horrible. Now, what do I have for metal? I need like a metal post. I don't have a metal post. Then I need a different wooden pole painted. Also, let's get all of this into a group in case we need to change something about it later. Like if we need to move this whole fence around. I really don't want to have to do that piece by piece. Merge into group. This group's name. Addax front fence. And then this should all be a group. Make selection. What else did I select? Oh, the habitat. Yeah, don't select this, don't select this. Merge into group. This is... I think you missed that one. You did. Did you miss anything else? Nope, that's all of it. So this is going to be Addax rock 1. We could even think about repurposing that if we wanted to. And then this, I actually just need to turn a small corner. Swing you out like this. You can go about here. Might actually leave that section of chain link fence intact. It looks kind of interesting. And then duplicate you, slide you over just a little more. Bring you back down. And then you're going to have to build another fence on top of this thing. So how do you want to do that without any good metal pole? Well, maybe you do have a metal pole and you just don't know. Why don't you look at columns that you have access to? The plaster pillar's a bit thick. Yeah, much too thick. I don't really want to do that. We could go with a wooden post. Could also go with a darker square beam. Let's do one that's 2 meter, because that's as tall as it needs to be to keep the Addax in. And then these, we're going to anchor in bits of the wall. And it's going to make it look a little irregular, but I think that'll be cool. You should design this elsewhere and then move it in. Yeah, let's build one segment of it. So you're going to work like this. Give me mesh fence. Can I get by 1, please? Yes. I should really get all this on the world axis. So 1, oh god, no, not random rotation. Random rotation off. Do 1 here. 2. 3. 4. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then show me beam. I've got this nice square beam here. And here. We'll sync these a bit. And then can I get a round, thin painted beam to sit on the top? Maybe 2. That's not a bad fence. So you're not painted. You are. We can get you a little darker. That looks like pretty much a perfect color match. And then we're going to grab you. Also paint this mesh. We want this to be as black as possible. Make this a group. Move it over here. And then we're going to do much the same thing that we did previously. Where we're going to have this live on top of our fence rooms. Little something like this. And about that tall, too. So that can go. Slide this rope ever so much closer to here, so it's not poking out at the end. Duplicate this thing. Lower it a little bit. Give me an extra piece of wall over here to cover up the bottom of the fence. Now we should just be able to run this thing along. Get rid of the end piece. And just start sliding it over. We'll do a little bit of rotation. I don't want this to look perfect. I want it to look a little messy, a little unkempt. Good enough to hold the Addaxes in, but definitely subject to the same weathering that's taken place in other places around this habitat. And then we'll just have it follow this curve. Looking good so far. I do hope that the breeze block doesn't stick out like too much of a sore thumb. It's definitely not a very deserty stone. I would much rather have the aquatic faux rocks, but alas, we don't have those. We're stuck with what we got. Let's move this out a little bit. Do about there. Bring this post over. Have you sit right about here. And then how does that look from a distance? You know, not horrible. I am going to go ahead and put in a null barrier at the front. So you're going to run to here. Then you're going to, well, actually, you're going to be opaque as well. We'll have you be corrugated, and I'll move some of those rocks around to make it less visible. And then from here, this is all going to be null barrier. Because I just want to unpause for 2 seconds and see how our Addax traversability is looking. See if they're able to get out of this thing or not. And then this is going to be null barrier all the way along here. And all the way up to here. You, up to here, are going to be corrugated. And then let's add a few more rocks to mask that. Oh, there you go. Actually, spin it. Probably more work than was necessary to hide that piece of fence. Maybe could have just used a different rock for it, but what's done is done. Oh, I want you to be in that group as well. There you go. And then we'll add you as well. Let's push you in just a little bit here. And then we'll use the same rock, but just push it in a little further. Yeah, I think you'll do just fine. Slid over here. Alright, so that is our corrugated fence hidden. Which means that guests will not try and look at the Addax through this wall. Which is good, because we don't want them to stop here and try to look at the Addax. That would be a very confusing experience for everybody involved. Now that this is a legitimate habitat, we can unpause for 2 seconds. Pause again. How are we looking for a traversable area? You are able to traverse up here, which I don't really like. And so the way that we fix that is going to be to, probably not with that much intensity, but to push some of this down just a little bit. Yep. There we go. I think that's looking pretty good. We still have to do this wall along the back, but this is currently an Addax-proof fence. This, it doesn't matter that it's an Addax-proof fence because the Addax can't reach it. And we have our little standoff gully here, which now that that's in, we can do a little bit of repainting here. Where this can probably be sand. And then down here in the gully, that seems like the kind of thing that would be soil down there. And then on the way up, turning into light soil. So, let's let our finances rebuild a little bit, because we are definitely not done with this exhibit yet. We still need to put in all of their enrichment items and so forth. Which, speaking of, how are we looking on research? We're getting to level 2. We're going to save these signboards for a little bit. I've got plans for them. We'll give ourselves until like March to rebuild this. Are you okay, or are you stuck? You're freaking me out a little bit. No, you're not. You're not stuck. You are able to traverse out of there just fine. There you go. Alright, I will take my next level of Addax research. I almost wonder if we should just take a loan. It would really speed this along. Yeah, let's do it. I think we're in a stable enough financial situation. We do make about $1,000 a year if you ignore purchases. So well, no, that's not true. Because you also have to think about taxes. We actually lost like $200 in profit last year. But we're up $1,700 so far this year. I can only interpret that as a good sign. We'll take a loan. So the next thing that I want to get added in is this back wall. And I think that we can probably just take parts of this wall. Can't multi-select in a group, huh? Alright. Well, then I think we'll just take parts of this wall, maybe like the big parts. And we will slide them over here. So it's going to be the same wall, but you'll never be able to tell. We'll even shift some of these around. Like I don't love what it's doing up against this wall here. I'd like to actually find the flat edge of some of these rocks. That actually is the flat edge. I don't like that flat edge though. I like this. This flat edge looks pretty good. Squish you against that. This rock can come way down. In fact, I think all of these can come way down. They look much taller on this side for some reason. Alright. And then we duplicate this. Put you about here. Adjust some of these so they're not clipping with the staff path. But I do like how this... I'm gonna need a smaller rock there. I do like how this staff path is kind of hidden away in this rock canyon now. I think that's a cool ambience. I can just pull this one up a little bit. Because I would ideally like these to become null barriers. I can turn random rotation back on here as well. Also just looking for gap filling now. There's a gap there. One over there. A little bit of roughness over here. And then let's add in some color as well. Need like one more big tall rock on top of this. Like you. And then you. Should do a pretty good job of masking that off. I have concerns about that climbability though. That looks very climbable. How climbable is this for you? Can you show me? It's not. Okay. Man, Addax. Not very good climbers. So now I can replace all this with null barrier. And I can't replace this with null barrier yet, but I can very soon. Actually, I'll just do it now. It's this post that needs to come back into this wall. This post needs to move over here. And then this post needs to move over here. You just sit there. Both of these can become null, and then give me one-way glass. Do I not have one-way glass? No hyphen. Got it. One-way glass panel. Fit this way. We should probably just snap it. With no random rotation. This is not a final building yet. Okay. The angle snap me. There we go. This is not the final stable building for them. But I just want to get the barrier sorted, and then later we can worry about how we're actually going to build this building. So that is Addax enclosed, and that is their barrier done. Although I'm noticing there's not a lot of red rock over on the side. Let's fix that a bit. I want it to have the same amount of color variation over here as it does on the other side. Yeah. Something like that. Starting to come along. Next thing that we need to add, this is hideous. Smoothly. There we go. Next thing that I want to add is, I think, probably the concrete walling here. And I'm a little undecided on this one, really. But I think that I would like this to be an actual wall, so that it looks like it was built there. We'll pull it up to about the level of the fence, but not quite. God, this is going to be expensive too. But I want this pit to look a little more designed than it currently does. So we're going to run a little concrete barrier along the outside of it. I say little, this would be like a $2,000 concrete barrier. It is still February year 2 as well, so we're doing pretty good on schedule. If we have any leftover time with this year, I would like to get the sandcats and fennec foxes in. I think we also need a male scimitar horned oryx at some point. Or maybe it was more females, I can't exactly remember. But we can get that done as well. And then we also need like a souvenir shop and an info kiosk and a couple other things in the second entrance plaza. So there will be plenty of other stuff to do if we finish this Addax habitat ahead of schedule. Sliding these around. And then as far as fill for these, I'm going to do a combination of mulch and rock, I think. We'll do like a couple little desert garden sections that'll have some desert scrub plants in them. And then we'll have some other parts that are just rocky outcrops, and that's what's going to mask this little divot that we've created on the guest side. And on the Addax side, we can just push some of the terrain down a little lower to further demarcate this section. And you can go right into the rock. Okay. Terrain. Push. Take me down to like 20 here. Maybe like 30. Make sure that this is uniformly low across the wall. Looks great. That did cost us about $2,000 though. And then give me like desert rock cladding. We'll definitely have desert rock on this side because we've already got this rocky section here. Sink it to just below the concrete. Add a second piece of cladding about here. And then past this point, we'll transition into mulch for a bit. I think a 2 meter by 2 meter will probably be a little too, I don't know, it fits pretty much perfectly. So we'll slide this along. And we're just covering up the gap here. So that this actually looks like a sheer drop. When in reality, the terrain underneath it is very, very wonky. And I wonder almost, take me down to like 10. Yeah, it's not going to let me do that there because the path is too close. Can't modify it. That's fine though. Take me back to my filters. Take me back to desert rock cladding. I have another section of rock here. Maybe a little splash of red thrown in for good measure. Wait, that's not a cladding rock. That's a normal rock. Here's my red desert cladding. And then take me back to normal cladding. Maybe move it down just a little bit so it looks a little irregular. Yeah. And then do some red rock and pull it up a little bit. And then here we can do mulch again. Send this along for a little bit. I want to pull this mulch back up. We're pretty far below the concrete wall at this point. Slide you around. Go back to rock cladding for a bit. And then right at the corner where this rock meets the rock facade that goes to the back of the habitat, I'm going to put a spot of mulch. We might put like a bigger tree there, like a date palm or something. Right in here. We really want to emphasize that this is like the end of the open part of the Addax habitat. Right, so there we go. Now, let's cover up some of these terrain irregularities. Let's also move, let's slide the barrier in a little bit. Because I think the Addax are going to get irritated if we try and put too many plants in their habitat. So I don't want the plant that we're going to put in this plateau to interfere with their habitat at all. So we'll just pull all of these back inside the radius of the concrete wall. And then we can do whatever we want on the outside. Also need to fix that rock. Need to actually make that one a little longer. There we go. There we go. And then where did I need to fix? Here. You need to move out just a little bit further. Let's do a quick check on how much of your terrain is actually left. Still at 1772. Let's do a quick traversability check. Looks outstanding. And then let's get some plants in at the top here. So, desert plants. Show me desert. Show me Africa. Sort by price, because we're going to want the cheap ones down at the bottom. Some really... turn my random rotation on as well. And I don't need to see hidden barriers. We'll do a couple little grasses. Some bigger foliage is going to help cover up this weird terrain glitch that we have. The salt seed is going to be too big. The terrain glitch that we have in this transition period. A little bit of grass will probably help with that as well. I get a dead Natraria bush too. Is it just called dry? Yeah, it's the dry one. Can I possibly get you to not poke out onto the path? Can I get a smaller dry Nitraria bush? Yeah, there's one. And then can I get just like a really small tree? Something very tasteful. Yeah, that's actually great. And then can I get, well, I'm thinking about it, the second slightly bigger version of that to come over here. Love it. And then a real big Natraria at your trunk. Along with a dead one. We don't want to go crazy on foliage here. We are in the desert after all, but deserts aren't 100% sand. They have plants in them too sometimes. Dead grasses, a small Natraria. Let's do a Natraria flanking each side of this mulch spot. Yeah, a salt cedar bush is just going to be too big. I don't want it to block the view of the guests. You can have some actual green grass, though. And then is there anything else really small that we could put in here? No, it's pretty much Natraria. Well, I guess we could do like one King Protea. Just for a little tiny bit of flowers. And then add some dry grass in here just for a little bit of texture and color. Still want like one big centerpiece tree here in the middle, but I just don't think it's the right spot. We'll do a rock garden there instead. Just give me like a couple really small rocks. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we didn't finish this portion of mulch. We'll be lazy. They'll never be able to tell that it's flipped. Yeah, you can't tell. All right. So a very, very light touch in terms of decor. Is any of that actually inside of your exhibit? One tree is. Everything else is outside of it, so that's great news. That gives me free reign to cover up this weird seam in the rock with even more grass. If I can help to cover that up at all, I will. Have it kind of poking out of the ground here. All right, that's starting to look like a thing in a way that pleases me. We can get even more grass in here. I don't really want to see the mulch too much because having like earthy loam soil is a little off-putting in a desert area. But that's starting to come together. We still have 3,700 in the bank. I think we could think about a couple enrichment items for our friends. And so we're going to do something a little fancy for them. I want to flatten this out here and have it extend out a bit. And I want to have like a rocky escarpment here. Possibly something that looks ruined in the same way that these do. Let's see if I can pull that off. Basically, I want this to look like it was an old fort battlement or something like that. That has slowly been taken over by nature. So to get these blocks to line up, I'd want to do like this. And then like that, but then also like this. And then maybe just do like a column. Have you extend out like this. I think I'd rather leave you broken like that. And then slide this one up here. And then have you come in again like this. Maybe up one more at that spot. No. You gotta bring that one all the way down. There you go. So a little something like that, like a little, you know, ruined fort kind of parapet kind of deal. We will do the same thing in hiding these layers using our desert rock cladding. We're going to pull it down to the level of the brick, right about here. And then we're just going to slowly move it along the course of these walls. And it's going to help to hide some of the elevation differences that we can't really control because of how the terrain painter works. Or not the terrain painter, but like the terrain in general. So you're going to go like that. And then could I get a nice flat piece? No, not a 4x4. Like you. Rotate you 90. and then just sink you down. That'll do. And slide this one over a little bit. So something like that, I think, is actually not that far off. And then we're going to give you a little piece of enrichment on top of this. So you're going to come to inspect it. There's going to be visitors there. The visitors are like, oh, that's neat. Give you a little scarecrow feeder. That does deform terrain. So fun trick, if you don't want to deform terrain, give yourself a big piece of path. Bigger. Terrain too uneven. Get it as close as you can. It looks like there should be fine. And then for whatever reason, if you put enrichment items on path, they don't deform the path, no matter what you do with them. So you can put that there, get rid of the path, and then in here, this is actually going to be foliage for the Addax. My guess is that if I gave them anything leafy, they would just eat it. So I'm going to give you a lot of dry nitrarium. This is going to be a real scraggly part of your exhibit. And then you can have just a little tasty treat, a little bit of grass poking up the top of this. Because you probably collect a bit of shade and a bit of moisture and a bit of runoff. Actually, what if you take this wall and you bend it back out? So any guest is like, whoa, is that a continuation of the old wall? The one that I see the zookeepers walking down? And maybe it is. Maybe long ago, there was a bigger fort here. Now it's all gone. So we can smooth this out in the back. Let's do a bit of general smoothing around this area. I'm also going to give them a bit of rock work behind this. I think this is just a very nice photogenic part of the Addax exhibit in general. So we're going to give you one big rock. And then we're going to surround it with several smaller rocks. And you can random rotate these. Basically all you want. We have a good opportunity over here to inject a little bit of color. Here as well. We don't really have to worry about how it looks from the back, because the only people who will ever see it back there are zookeepers, but we'll do a little bit of work back there. Because we did demarcate this area as being for rock work in our initial master plan of the habitat. Okay. So a nice little rocky outcropping for them. If they want to, they can hide back there. They've got a nice little hiding spot. This can go back to being fine sand. And then maybe like 40% intensity, we just draw coarse sand through here. With this definitely being more soil, and then this being rough rock directly underneath the rock. So there's their one little escarpment, and they've got a little bit of enrichment there. We earmarked a second one here. This one is going to be very, very small. We'll get our same wall out. Random rotation off. It actually kind of looks a little chipped if we do it like that. If we have it meet at odd angles. So that's just going to be a little tiny one. We'll pull the terrain up a tiny bit inside there. Give it a path. What else do you need? How's your enrichment looking? You get 10 from the scarecrow feeder. I think I wouldn't mind having this one be... I need to actually flatten this. Get rid of the path. Yeah, we want to flatten this one down a little bit so we can put their water there. And now that we can afford it, I am definitely going to put the permanently running water pipe there. Put a path for you. I think I can make this work. Put it here. Duplicate an advanced move. Rock. I actually think replacing the bottom of it is kind of cool. But I don't think all of the cladding is going to be super happy about doing that. Yeah, it's not. Alright, fine. Then all I'm really worried about is getting it flush with the bottom so it doesn't look like it's floating. I see the problem. We need to use plaster here. I need something very flat. Give me a 1x1 plaster panel. Even that shows through. Wow. We'll do it so it's just barely beneath them. And then this is going to be the little platform that the water sits on. No, not that one. This way. Make that a little bit further. And then can I cover these edges up with rock? I bet so. Yes. Kind of. Yeah. And then over here. And over here should be easy. No? Yeah. Then, can you hide the rest of the plaster? Sort of. Sorta, kinda. But what you can't hide with this, you can hide with clever repainting of the plaster. Not you. You. Fine. Merge it all into the group. Will you not let me edit color? Enter group edit. Can I just multi-select all of you? Can I... Yes. You. There we go. So if I turn you just like an inoffensive sandstone brown, you blend in much, much better. And then again, just to round off those corners. Spot of grass here and there. Hey, this is a watering hole, so it's probably going to be fairly lush, as far as the desert is concerned anyway. You can have a normal nitraria bush. Alright, so there's their little watering hole. I actually don't like this rock when I look at it. Can you get out of here? I think that's fine. So you still need a lot of food enrichment. And you need a ton of toy enrichment. A grab ball we can just put wherever. We'll sink it into the train a little bit so you can't really see it. And then over here, well, because I don't want the grazing ball feeder to like fall into the trench. We may save this spot for whatever our next enrichment item is that we unlock for them. Let's also dress this rock up a little bit. Can I have like drain grass large? Yeah. And I think if you're gonna have one fairly large tree, you're gonna have it here. A little further up this rock, you might have a nitrarium. Maybe like over here. Growing out of the side a little bit. And then a dry one down in front. And then just a little baby one over here. Is that too many plants for you guys? No? You're loving it. Alright, then I'm going to give you one big tree. I think a duum palm is too big. I don't want it to stand out that much. But I think another frankincense tree is kind of perfect. Stick it next to that rock. Also, let's try and make this fence look a little bit more overgrown. Stick some grasses along this. Make this area look a little more busy. Can I just see dry? I don't want to have to search for them every time. Okay. I want to be careful about adding too many plants here. It's starting to look like not a desert. But I think that's decent for now. How's your enrichment looking? Your enrichment is okay. I want to research your new toys though. You no longer need this. We can move this outside. And the last thing that I want to put in here is I want to make better versions of these. So, the thing that I don't like about Planet Zoo habitat education boards is they are too dang big. But there is a fun trick that you can use to make them smaller. I don't know if I actually stole this from somebody or if it's something that I came up with. It's been a long time. But let's say we want this here. And normally you would, the habitat education board is a 2-meter screen. But if you just use a 2-meter screen, or like a 1-meter screen, or, you know, any other kind of billboard, it doesn't actually give education. The only thing that gives education, as far as I can tell, is actual habitat boards. But if you make yourself something like this, I actually think I want to tilt that on an angle. Like that. Good. Then you take a real habitat education board, like this, and you put all of these into a group, and you set this to be Addax, and you set this to be Addax, which is going to be wide addax.png. You can then take this whole group, and you can sink it into the ground, so that the only thing poking out of the top is the board about Addax information, and we'll get it roughly to guessed eye level here. And that works, because guests can actually still see that board under the ground. So we're going to name this Addax. Actually, we're just going to name this, now we'll name it Addax. Addax information board. And then we can put down as many of these as we want. I think we're going to go 1, 2, 3 fence posts. 1, 2, 3. Put another one here. Let's make sure you're hiding it inside this post. We can have the little piece sticking out the back. That doesn't really bother me. You know, maybe that's like the mounting apparatus for it or something. 1, 2, 3. But I don't want to put it right in front of the King Protea. I think that would be distracting. Slide you around. Good. 1, 2, 3. Right here in front of this rocky outcrop, and then that's probably the last one we put down. Get it inside the wood. Off you go. Then we can move these over so that the donation bins are actually sitting next to the things that teach you about the Addax. That just feels thematic. This donation bin can go. Let's do a little bit of custom painting on these so that they're more desert tones. I think I'd actually rather flip those. An icon color. Icon color I could actually make like this dark brown. I like that. Okay. Destroy. No, don't destroy. 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 One goes here. One goes here. One goes here. So now they can learn about the Addaxes, but they're not using those god-awful, enormous education boards. We've got a little bit of interesting scenery to look at in this exhibit, which is fun. You're playing with your grab ball. Got places to be with it. I like that these hills are kind of visually interesting. Are you able to climb this? No, they cannot climb the rock. Alright, Addaxes just can't climb, apparently. You're checking out your little harvest man. And the last thing left to do is this shelter. which I have been putting off because I don't think I'm the world's greatest like builder. I think I'm an okay habitat builder. I think this looks fine. But when it comes to actual buildings, I don't think that's necessarily my strong suit. So we'll let our money build up a little bit here. Let's paint in some rock around these. Also maybe add some foliage in around these. That's a giant notoriety bush. A little something going on in that corner as well. Hanging out in the dang gully. It seems like a nice place to probably get into the shade. If you just want to take a break from being in the sun. I guess also we're going to need the theme back here. But we can make like a false portion of the building here, or we could even pull the habitat out that way if we wanted to. It's entirely up to us. That research done. Addax is coming along. What did you get out of that? A barrel feeder. Alright, we'll make a nice long portion of the habitat over here, and then I swear I'll do the shelter building for them. Breeze block. Not grid piece. 1x2. Angle snap on. Random rotation off. So this one I want to be a little longer. I want to give them a little bit of like grazing room to actually use the barrel feeder. And then we'll also make it relatively tall. But I also want to give it like a tier kind of look. That might be interesting. Can I have plaster, please? Because plaster I can recolor as needed. Slide you here. Slide you here. Make you a very inoffensive brown color. That's probably good enough. You're going to go about here. We can fill in these gaps later. And then we'll have you turn sharp. We'll also have this drop down a little bit. But we'll keep the false plaster bottom where it is. Yeah, maybe. Just kind of winging it. Seeing where the mood takes us. Maybe this wall keeps going. And then these just kind of disappear. Something like that. Oh, I actually think I like this a lot. Because then we can do something interesting here. Which is that this comes out like this. And then it turns really sharp. And it goes directly in. But then the wall on top keeps going. So you turn in here. And you vanish into the earth. after coming up a level. And then you come in one more, and you join your friend. Maybe you even go on a diagonal. Yeah, we'll just get weird on this side. Who knows what they were doing with this wall over here? And then we'll slide this over a little more. And then you'll need to come back up here, and you're going to be the false bottom here. This is going to give the barrel feeder something to actually rest on. And the other accoutrement that we decide putting over here, if we decide to put anything else over here at all. We'll do it like so. So. Like so. And that's probably fine. Let's push this terrain down a little bit here. And then give me a path. Oh, it really does not want to go anywhere here. Alright, I'm going to need to flatten here then. It's flatter than I would like it to be. But I do these things for my Addaxes. Maybe if you make it smaller. Oh, hates that. Hates that. I think that's the best you're gonna get. But actually, you know what you can do here? You can... Where's my, host? You can put guardrails in for their barrow feeder so that it can't roll off. Give this wall like little crenulations or something. Then, when you come back to this train, you can push all this back down. And then you can move this thing down a little further so the base is transparent. And then you can move this around a little bit. And then this entire wall needs to be duplicated and come down. Then get ready to mask some of this stuff in the back. Give me a little bit of Nitraria. Dry Nitraria. Please stop snapping to position. Yeah. So just like a little weird fort area. And then they can come over, they can eat with their barrel feeder. It's visible, it's right in front of an information booth. How does that have you looking for enrichment? 50 of 62, 20 of 25, 80% enrichment. I can give you a little more, but it's probably not going to be scenery pieces like this. I want to let some of the open areas of the environment speak for themselves as well. Also, I don't think you count as food inventory, so you can go. What's your social problem? Stress? Okay, you can go hide. You're fine. So, last remaining task is the stable. And I think that I like this overall structure of the stable, so I'm probably going to keep a building like it. But we're not going to keep it. We're going to build something similar. Let's start with breeze block, since we already have that theming in the habitat. We've got some like breeze block fort motifs going on, so we can preserve that in their shelter building. We'll go like this, like this. I want to keep it square with the guest view. Well, I think I have to keep it square with the guest view in the back. So let's start at the back, because that's where this viewing area is going to be. You'll go here. You're gonna hate yourself for this when you're making the roof. Just so you know. You're taking a bunch of grid pieces and you're moving them off grid. Yeah, probably will. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. This part is going to swing around like this. And is going to go directly into the ground. You can bring the rock out a little bit further. There you go. Then you can take this. Endeavor to keep the building square where you can. I kind of like it having this shallower profile as well. You can actually get back on grid here. Like this. But I like it having a shallower profile. And by that I mean it doesn't come out as far and it buys more space in the front of the exhibit. So you're now sand in front of this. And I just want this to not clip with a rock too badly. So pretty much exactly like that. Split this from its group so that we can advance to move it. Just have you go to like there. Alright, so that's the rough bones of the shelter building. The next thing that I want to do is put in the one-way glass so that I know where it's going to be. I want you to snap as well as snap rotation. We'll have it nice and inset. And we'll have it a little low. I don't think we need like big windows for this, so maybe just save some costs and use that. Bring this one over here. Bring this one over here, and eventually that's going to be... I think I can probably put like the Addax information sign like right there. So that'll be nice. You are going to have column here. You're going to want an angle snap for that. And I'll have it stick out a little to contribute some dimension to the outside of this building. Because if everything is just flat, that's kind of boring. And I think that's about as high as I want it. Same thing over here. Have you stick out a little bit, it just adds texture to the building. And then I can center this window between these two pillars. I can center this window more like that. How do I want these to be framed? I probably want to give them some wood trim. Can you show me probably a painted beam, if I had to guess. And later I'm going to fix all of this grouping. The grouping is a total mess right now. I'll deal with it later. So we'll have some wood trim on these windows. Let's get you to be the right color. Oh, that's an interesting color. Let's do that, because it's just going to make this section of the exhibit a little more visually interesting. Here, and here. And then we can copy this frame over to here. It's going to be a bollock to line up. You probably would have been better off just snapping it. Nah, never mind, you got it. Okay. And then you're going to need a way to fill this space. I think you want a bigger pillar at the end. Can you get a bigger breeze block column? Not really. So that's unfortunate. It means you're going to have to make your own by using like 2 or 3 of them. Actually borrow it from here so that you get the same height. Because you want to keep your height consistent. So like this, and then like this. And then have it extend into the rock a little bit as well. And then you can slide this thing around. To have it be this big chunky pillar. Yeah. Maybe. It's making this building look more imposing than I wanted it to. But I guess we'll see. Maybe it's okay that they live in a fairly substantial fort. And it does maintain visual consistency with a lot of the rest of the exhibit, because we've got this this crumbling brick motif in a couple other places. So then here it's more recessed. It just jets out at the front for a little bit more irregularity. And then at this point, you're basically done doing the super pillar. I think you want one more skinny pillar over here. And it's going to help cover up the awkward join that you have in this spot. Yeah. Everything else from here on out. Maybe I keep this wood trim, actually. I just really like this wood trim. Yeah, let's keep the wood trim. Wood trim here. Wood trim here to here. I should take more time to get that to match up correctly. There you go. No, just copy a piece of the wood over. And then turn off your angle snap. Get that corner to be flush. Duplicate here. Then slide you along out here. Slide you out here. At the front, I don't think I'm going to use this trim. I'll do something different in the front. This is going to be like a back and side of the building kind of thing. Can I please select this? There we go. Bring you over here. There we go. And then everything else is going to be plaster, because I can change its color and it's very versatile. So we're going to recess it even further. And you're going to go all the way to the top of the wall. And this is all just adding texture to the building. It's adding dimension. It's making it not just look like a big flat surface. I think these are all things that are good and that we will like at the end of the day. Give me the 1x4 here. It's going to butt up against the viewing window. And then we'll have you run along the top as well. Should I be angle snapping here? Probably, but the roof is going to be a hodgepodge anyway. So I think I'm just going to try and wing it. One viewing gallery completed. All right, fine. So these pillars in the back are going to need to be a little higher up. As are you. As are you. You can stay short. Let's change the color of all of these to, that's too yellow. That's getting there. That's too dark. Yeah, I think something like that is pretty good. Let's also do a little bit of interior work here. I don't think that the Addaxes are going to mind too much if they can see their wood trim route. So we can just square those off. Hey, so far this is not bad. I'm not experiencing significant amounts of pain like I usually do when I'm trying to build a building. Here in the front, these are going to come together much quicker because we don't have any trim to worry about. That's not quite right. There you go. Plaster really is just a very, very versatile building material in Planet Zoo. Maybe in real life too. I don't know. Grab all these. Make them the same brown. I think that's it. I think you got it. Yeah. And then you need to figure out roof. So how are you going to do roof? Actually, there's one thing I want to do first. Do I have any good fabric? No. Do I have any good beam? You have okay beam. Yeah. Why? Because I want sunshades for this section of the viewing gallery. So I want something maybe about this long. Yeah, so far so good. Are you just going to build an awning? No, I'm not just going to build an awning. I want do I have a thin plank? Like a really thin plank? That's way too thick. That's perfect. I want you to go here. I want you to rotate. Can I have your 4-meter version? Just something that'll keep a bit of the sun off. Yep. Can I please have one on the normal grid? Thank you. So it looks a little weird, but I don't think it's bad. And we can paint it. Yeah. I could actually see using this in a few places around the zoo. This is a neat little thing that we've made. Okay, so we have two little viewing ports into the Addax. Can I extend this mosaic path out a little more? I want it to have like a viewing gallery over there. No. Alright, well that'll be good enough. Give me... I lied? Give me trim. Give me the trim back. I'm going to repurpose the trim as a series of braces that go here. And then we'll move them over to here as well. And then you need something to cap off the top. Something fairly chunky. That's then going to hold the roof up. Oh, you know what? Where are your, maybe this is where you use the plaster pillars. Right? The idea is that I want the roof to be open air. Because I feel like that's something that would keep it cool in the desert. And so I just want it to be held up a little bit so that I can then angle it. Slide you over here. Slide you back here. And then that's the last one you're going to have. This one's going to come back here. And then maybe bring one more beam up a little further. Do you like this? Let's find out if you like this. Maybe this is the chunky thing that you wanted up here. I don't think it is. Do I have a shorter beam than this? That's 4 meters. Planet Zoo beam square. Can I get the 2-meter version instead? Because I want it to end inside of that. I also want to change your color. Oh, that's not the paintable one. That's why I can't change your color. There we go. So I want you to come to about here. And then at the front of this pillar, I am just going to square it off with a wooden beam. So you'll go like this. Get the color right. Duplicate it. Angle snap it. Slide it back into position like this. That's decent building trim. Yeah, I think that's actually good. I think I do like that. So that would mean that you are going to come through here, a little bit back, here. I don't, again, need these to line up exactly. Bring this over. Good. And good. And now I can do roof. Here we go. Definitely not asphalt roof. It's going to be way too hot. I actually think corrugated roof, like corrugated plastic roof, may be fine. Wherever it's hiding. 1 meter, please. There we go. So add you to this group. You go here. However, I want to position you a little bit more exactly. I want you to have a very slight overhang here. I just really don't like the way those I-beams look. Do you want to try and make a whole roof out of plaster, though? Not really. I can add trim to it, and that'll be fine. And then we'll just duplicate this along. We will... Oh, you can't... Right, because it's technically a building. Alright, then I'll bring you over here. Put you like that. And then in the middle, we're going to have it be a little raised. I wonder if actually you want it to be raised and flat in the middle. Like this. And then just slide it over so that it's actually centered. Split these from the group. Advance move it. Have it sit here. And then grab your pillar. And have it connect all the way up. Is it all the way up? You know? That's pretty neat. I also don't know where the music went. I thought I had music set to continuous play. But it appears that I could be wrong. Let's go find out. That's there. You really shouldn't change your audio like mid-recording though. It's going to make everything so much louder and then everybody's going to have to change the volume. Alright, so far so good. I think the front is fine. Let's duplicate this. No, let's add a new piece onto this because you want it to be on the grid. Sort of. Where's 2 meter plan? That's closer to what I want. you can go there. Then I'm going to split you from your group, and I'm going to slide you back to about here. And up to about here, and then I'm just going to pull this up higher. If I can, there you go. Then we'll do the same thing here. There you go. Then, attached to this grid, get it to be the same height as the others. At least as close as you can get it. That looks pretty close. But that looks exact. And then you're going to need to duplicate this one. Slide it over like this. Duplicate this one. Slide it over like that. So that's a join. Yeah, so far so good. Not much farther to go now. I think. I hope. Have a wall. Or grab a roof. Bring it down to its friend. Bring it out to its friend. About like that. Oh no, these are 2 meter on the back. You need a 2 meter there. There you go. Split you from a group so that I can advanced move you. Out a bit. Push you in a bit. Move you over a bit. Get you to line up with your friend. Something like that. It's going to be a bit of an annoying angle, but I may leave it. It looks kind of interesting. Like it's sort of an intentional architectural design feature. Can't really tell you why, but it does. What are you going to do in the middle of this thing, though? Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Just keep working. 2 meter plastic. Bring it up. Move it over. Split it from its group. Advanced move it. Line it up with its friend. About there. And again, you're going to have this interesting pattern going on, but It is fine. It doesn't look horrible. Duplicate here. And now you have to figure out how this side of the roof is supposed to intersect. Which is a problem. And also, like, what happens in the middle. For starters, how about you just slide this whole thing back as far as it can go? Yeah, that's one approach. You can go back about that far before you get mad. I think this will be something. I'm not sure yet. But I think it'll be something. This I'm very convinced is good. Although looking at it, I don't think it's quite symmetric. I do want to hide the inside of this though. So easiest way to do that is going to be to bring the plaster ball up. And now you can't see the hideousness. And I also think that we might just use plaster balls at the back here as well. Give me all. Show me the non-grid plaster 1x4. Rotate it upwards. So we can mask this by just going like this all the way along the side. Right? And then maybe we don't have to solve any problems and we can just hide all of our problems instead. A little tiny 1x1 piece to mask here. I can deal with why that sticks out later. I'm gonna need more 1x1 pieces for that. You are gonna be too big. Sure. And sure. I don't think anybody is ever going to look at this roof that closely, so I don't need to worry about this being an exact straight line. It looks pretty good from most angles, honestly. I'm kind of surprised. Does it look a little weird? Yeah, it looks a little weird. But I don't think it's that bad. You've moved this one all out of position here. Oh, it's all wrong. Just duplicate this. Grabbing the wrong dang widgets. Slide this up. Turn it into a 1x4. Here you do want to angle snap. Turn it into a 1x1. You want to do something with this? You could. Oh, you know what? This could be like a little bit of AC on the top. Do like a little bit of ductwork, just in case we need to keep it cool in there for the Addaxes. And then that can also help us cleverly mask some of the weird shapes that we're going to have to deal with up here by hiding all this garbage. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm starting to not like it. I'm gonna have to not look at it soon. So, getting to the point where I'm like, actually, I think it's bad. Maybe because it's this little tiny gap that really just annoys me. If you slide this out just a tiny bit, can you recover something out of that? Probably not, if I had to guess. We were starting so strong too. Well, let's clean up this side. Maybe it's one of those things where you're like, it's only half done, and you're getting mad at it because it's not all the way done. You haven't given it a chance to truly express itself. You know? So here it tilts down all the way into and slightly past that column. Here it should be like there. And then we bring you up to about here. And then also up to about here, but your angle's not quite right. See, because now I'm back to liking it again. I think this is cleaning up really nicely. And we can use this as like a weird flat continuation of the roof for some reason. Especially if I just move you in a little bit. Like that's not bad. It's actually really not bad. And then do the same thing over here. Uh-huh. Loving your work. It's a little jagged, but I think it does kind of help mask it nicely. I don't know, man. I don't think it's the worst roof I've ever built. I think it's a pretty far cry from the best roof I've ever built. But I don't think it's the worst. Let's start painting all this stuff. There we go. This is the part where I really wish that I just kept it all in a group. But too late now. Oh, Jesus. I mean, you could just start adding it to a group now. That's true. That's pretty true. Can I please just, like, can I? It really doesn't want me targeting that one piece of plaster. There's a couple of things I still need to clean up. I guess just do it now. Because realistically, if you don't do it now, you're never going to come back and do it. You're just going to admire this building from afar forever. How do you want to close this little corner off? Yeah, I mean, that's one way. This wall can just come up. And that's how that can close off. And then you missed color on this thing. Oh, there we go. Got it that time. Yeah, you know, not horrible. How's it look on the inside? Dubious, I would say. But we can also fix that. We can give it a false ceiling. Right, so we go like this. And this is the one where it's like anybody who's good at Planet Zoo building will tell you to make the ceiling last so that you can actually see inside the building so you know what you're doing. We've elected to not do that. And in many ways, we're going to pay the price for it. But that's fine. Just you. Yeah, I don't mind this false ceiling. I think it's actually working kind of great. Copy these two. Move them to like here. And then we'll put in one more here. We don't even need to paint this necessarily. Because no one's ever really going to be looking at it. That sticks way out, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Let's move that back inside. And then this should be the last wall we have to do this against. Well, it'll lay in. Good, it is. Just use the one by one. It's obviously what that spot is supposed to be for. You could never tell that up above it's a complete mess. Down here, it looks great. Out here, looks great. Around this corner, looks okay. This is still like a little messier than I'd like it to be. So now we can find exterior air conditioner. That's not exactly the way that they mount, but you know, whatever. Probably have like a pair of those things on here. Making sure that my boys are keeping cool. And then add some bedding in. Can have a little bit of hay bedding. Large, medium, extra large, large, medium. Give you more than enough sleep time space. And that should be this exhibit basically done. So we've taken it down to 1764, but how much navigable space do you have? Only 1321, and there's too much soil. Okay, too much soil is probably going to be in the gully. So let's replace some of it with sand. Yeah, there we go. So we're almost done for today. The last thing that we need to do is bring over one section of our wall. Do I actually really need wall over here? Yeah, you do, just to keep it thematically constant. Duplicate this. Pull it around here. Turn angle snap off. It just helps remind people that this is all the same exhibit, is what I'm going to tell myself. And then this needs to be split from the group. You, and you. Split. Destroy you. Donk. Donk. Nice tight turn here. And then can I get you to connect to the building from here? Yes. How much will you let me get away with? Not that much. Well, actually, yes, that much. So I can bring this pillar over. That is not actually part of the Addax habitat, so we can get some big trees in there. And they will not mind that at all. Like, where's our salt cedar? Oh, yeah. Big old salt cedar bush back here. It also doesn't need to be coarse sand. You can have maybe like light soil. With just a tiny bit of grass thrown in there for good measure. We can give you a nice big king protea as well. And then some green drain grass. So this is like a fun little oasis section in the back. Got this nice plant life. There's good room for a rock right here. There's be like a little rock garden. Grab one of your signposts, duplicate it. Hook it up right about here. I think that looks great. And then you can have another one here. You've got your zoo bin here. Get rid of all of those, and we can get the ones with the fancy new color. One here, one here. And I think that might be the Addax is done. We have their little plaza area that's like mostly finished. I guess I could add a little more plant life here. Do like some medium drain grass, small drain grass, a couple dry bushes. But I don't think we need to do a lot. And like a little shady coconut palm back here too. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's Addax is done. 11 June. We have $1,800 still in the bank. So a couple things that we want to knock out before we get completely to the end. I would like the light versions of this. What lights do we have available? Almost none. That is brutal. We're gonna have to use Planet Zoo streetlights instead of doing anything fancy. But they can at least go... I don't want them that low. They can at least go like here. Please don't random rotate. Put one here. I guess it is nice that they snap to the fence. Put one here. And put one here. So that'll take care of our lighting at night. I guess over here. No, you just missed you misspaced your signs. That's okay. We can leave this as a bit more of an open spot. Because that's where traffic flows out from the plaza, is what I'll tell myself. Could also probably do a little theming back here. But I think all told, I'm not too upset with that. I wonder if we have like little Addax art that we can put on this building. Addax. Would it be too cheesy to put the name of them on the barn as well? I don't think so. Gonna some change color on that. No, that's gonna blend in too much. Yeah, something like that's good. And then out front, how about just like a little bit of brush? Can you have one small frankincense tree? No, it covers the words. Can you have an even smaller frankincense tree? No, even the smallest frankincense tree covers the words. Still though, pretty good. Good vet research, Addax 4. Does that get you anything fun and new? It gets you a scent marker. So we could have you mark scent on things if we wanted to. Maybe we can have you mark scents at like the corners of your habitat. I don't want that to deform terrain then. You can have a scent marker here. That does take you into the positives on toy enrichment. We still need to get you a little food enrichment though. Mechanic research is done. That's Africa 1. Okay. A little late to do anything with that for the Addax at this point, but we can do something about it for dromedary camels or our scimitar horned oryxes when we get to them. And then also with our extra money, how about Sandcat? Sandcat? We have a breeding pair, a male and a female. Buy it. Buy it. Get them now. Send them to quarantine. It's just going to help us make even more money so that we can build even more faster. Guest facilities. Finance. Let's prepare for that eventuality. It's not as lit as I would like, but we can put lights on the other side of the path. And that'll also help brighten it up. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Heading into September, and if I could pick up a couple more fennec foxes before we close down, then we'd have every animal down, and then next time when we're working on dromedary camels or the scimitar horned oryxes or whatever we decide to do next, we can put in like gift shop and information center over here. We can finish out the last stalls that we need for this market plaza. But that's good. That's actually a surprisingly budget Addax build. I wonder how much that cost us. 10,000 in purchases. Yeah, it's a $10,000 habitat. Pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things, I would say, and I bet a lot of it was taken up by that barn. You have not passed yet. You are fixing barriers. That's great news. guests are making it further and further in. The other thing we need to spend money on next time is this food court. We need to get some products in there as well. Alright, Adila. Come and hang out in here. Barrier is getting fixed as we speak. You seem like you're probably pretty busy. Wonder if I need another mechanic. We at least don't technically have to worry about this barrier. And I wonder if oh no, wait, we do. We need this barrier to stay maintained. That's actually kind of annoying. Oh well, I think I like the little aesthetic of the chain link fence there. Although maybe I want to replace that with the tall gate. I think I do want to replace it with the tall gate. You're gonna be mad because the path is there? I bet you're gonna be mad because the path is there. No. Are you mad because that null barrier is there? There we go. Sure. Null barrier here, and then null barrier. Alright. Just a taller gate. Why are people running? Who got out? Who escaped? What happened here? The Addax did not escape. It can't escape. It's not possible for it to escape. Do I need to add it back into the work zone, though? Because I destroyed the gate? Is that the problem? Work zones? I'm losing my mind. Staff? Work zones? There we go. Yeah, I do. Alright. There we go. And then also keep an eye on that generator. There we go. So, unfortunately, it's going to flush almost all the guests out of the zoo at a point where we really could have used a little extra money. But they'll be back. They always come back. Sandcat exhibit is like half fixed. Oh, he's still working on it. He seems kind of slow. So tiny. Alright, what do you need? Terrain issues, too much rock, not enough sand. Can fix. Actually, leave this as rock rough because it's my reminder that that's going to be your house. Replace all the rest of this with sand. Crack my strength. There we go. And then enrichment. We have $1,000. You can have an ever-flowing pipe. You can have... Stop showing me blueprints. You can have a... Oh, there it is. Food train. Food train small. Alright, that's all you need. Knock yourself out. I'll be back to check on you in like 5 years. Make sure you make me lots of money while you're in there. And then fennec foxes. Too expensive currently. We need to wait until we're at like 1,500. We only have 1 month to go. We may be doing that one next year. Are you stuck? What are you doing down here? No, he's okay. Yeah, I think this works. I like that they have enough space here out front that they can actually herd. They can wander around together. I think that's great. I'm very pleased by that. I like how these terraces turned out, except I don't know where your barrel feeder is. I was way over here. Yeah, your keeper will come by and fix that later. It's good. I'm pleased with it. I think it turned out great. I'm just gonna line up a screenshot here as the sun comes over the mountains because I can't actually take screenshots in a franchising because it saves every time you try and quit it. So hopefully the sunrise gets here in time because I would like to take a well-lit shot. But that is going to about do it for year 2 in Empirical Sahara. The next exhibit we work on, not sure yet, could be dromedary, could be scimitar horned oryx, but I think we're probably just going to work in a circle. And then we will be getting to sandcat and we'll be purchasing fennec foxes later on. But if you are enjoying the series, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that you know when new videos are going to come out. And if you have any feedback about how I put together the Addax habitat, or you're looking forwards to other habitats coming up in the zoo, leave a comment and let me know. I would be happy to incorporate your feedback and your thoughts about how to make the zoo look visually interesting. Till then, I've been Chef, take care, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.